So here we are on planet Earth, looking out into the world around us. And at this moment in time, the sun has moved on and it's gone on into gateway number 6. So here we are with the wheel, and we're in the bottom right corner here, and we're moving out of this season. This is the last hexagram that has broken, solid, broken, water, Khan, danger as the base part of it. So we're looking into the sun's placement in gateway number 6 now. And so we have water underneath, broken, solid, broken, and then we have the creative on top, Chen, solid, solid, solid. So heaven on water. And so there's a whole potential here, the idea with the 6th gateway, the 6th hexagram. In traditional I Ching, it's called conflict. I prefer to call it, since we're moving into an Aquarian age, whether we like it or not, I prefer to call it conflict resolution. That there's multiple different ways of sorting out things that are potential difficulties in life. And one of them begins with getting very clear about our emotions. And those of you familiar with human design will know that the 6th gateway is in the corner of the emotion center with the potential of connecting into the sacral center through the channel of 59 to the 6, the channel of greatest intimacy. This channel where life force energy from the sacral center penetrates right into the emotional body. Now we think, all right, emotions, up and down, life goes up and down all the time, but there are so many layers to this emotion center, and it's part of the reason why we find it so complicated to connect in there. It's not just, oh, well, I'm feeling okay and I'm not feeling so good, and there's two extremes of things. There are multiple bodies that are connected from what appears to be the emotional center in the human design chart. We have a mental body, we have an emotional body, we have an astral body, we have a spiritual body, we have an etheric body. There's all these different auras, all these different connections that happen. And the 6th gateway is the gateway, literally, the doorkeeper to all of our emotions here. And so we say that people that have the 6th gateway in their design, they tend to control the emotional environment. And they seek to do that, whether they have that center colored in, defined or not. So the 6th gateway, it carries a lot of potency, a lot of importance with it. And that's why I call it conflict resolution. Now, if we go back to the 4th gateway in the lower right corner of this image here, we'll see the hexagram there is broken, solid, broken. And then we go through all of those different 8 hexagrams all the way up to the number 6, and they all have that foundation. The foundation was kicked in from gateway number 7. So water as the base of each one of these hexagrams. If you go to the opposite side of the wheel, we have all the gateways in the emotion center in human design. So for example, the 4 is opposite to the 49, the 29 opposite to gateway number 30. The 59, as we see, is opposite to number 6. So these two are quite closely interlinked, the 40 and the 37. And then there's a jump, the 64, 63 are both of these gateways in the crown center. But then the 47 is also opposing the 22. So we've kind of been, let's just say in this last quarter of the wheel, we've been emphasizing the quality of emotion. Can we find an emotional balance when everything goes a little haywire? So let's have a look, see what the life theme is here as we look in. And so we go with the conscious sun in gateway number 6. We have the personal life theme we call the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is this beautiful image of perfection. Everybody gets along with each other. Everything's just hunky-dory, animals, people, trees, everybody we're all perfectly great. And it very often happens that people with this particular life theme, that they come into this world from a very bright source. They literally come from a place that be equivalent to a Garden of Eden, where everything's just wonderful, perfect. And they land in planet Earth, and the going here is a little thick because we're in 3D here for the most part. We're trying to make the shift from 3D to 4D to 5D. Who knows? It's in the works at the moment, whether we like it or not. But in 3D itself, life can be very, very complicated. And for people who have this particular life theme, there can be one complication after another. So they come in with the expectation everything's fine. And then they find out when they're about 4 or 5 years old, actually everything's maybe not so good. Maybe people are not living in integrity. They're not being truthful. They're not living out what it is they could do in this lifetime. And so people with this particular life theme, they very often go looking, where's this garden? I've been chucked out of the Garden of Eden. I'm in this madhouse, this planet Earth place, and it's like, what am I supposed to do here? And they can kick up a lot of fuss. They can get into all kinds of interactions with people, and they fall in love, and then all of a sudden they're back in the garden again, and then they find some problem with that person, and they're kicked out again. And then they find a work that they like to do, and then all that falls to pieces, and they find one thing after another that they're chasing after things on the outside, where in actual fact the whole journey is on the inside. That what appears to be happening on the outside is actually a reflection of what's going on the inside. So the Garden of Eden, I always say to people with this particular life theme, if you have this life theme, you are the garden. Own it, be in it. Live in this high frequency, live in this high state of possibility. Stop chasing after things on the outside, because you're never going to get fulfilled. You're never going to get satisfied with what's on the outside. So then we look at where the earth is grounded here, and the gateway is number 36. Traditionally, I Ching, with the translation comes the darkening of the light, right? As though you're facing something, and the more you look at it, the more obscure it all becomes. You can't see a way through. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. And so I call this gateway crisis resolution. The opposite of conflict resolution, where there's a friction, where there's a potential, connection into emotion that's not terribly comfortable. And the 36 is this crisis resolution, is how do I step into something that I've never been there before? I have no idea what's going on there. How am I going to manage? So the word crisis, if you, I don't know whether you're like me, lucky enough to learn Greek, ancient Greek as a child, but the word crisis means to make a decision. So a crisis exists up until that moment you make a decision. And that's the whole crux of the 36. Can you trust in yourself to make a decision and move forward and move into whatever the experience is? And so in this Garden of Eden, can you make a decision in yourself to be resolved in yourself, that you are the garden, that whatever happens on the outside, you're here to deal with it on one way or another? And so fortunately, we have our human design. We have our own authority. We have our own way of making decisions that are right for us in any situation. And so that's the great thing with the Garden of Eden, this personal life theme, is making right decisions according to your own truth, right? To move away from the conditioning, move away from the way in which the world has been taught to operate, and move into clarity. And so this particular life theme has an extraordinary potential there. The unconscious sun, gateway number 12, the gateway of stop, right? Caution, hang on a minute, wait. Let's have another look at this whole thing before we just rush into the habitual way of dealing with stuff. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to react to it. So the 12 says, stop, hang on, caution. Let's really take in the whole scenario here. And then the gateway number 11, the gateway of harmony and peace and ideas. And so it's a very, very potent life theme. And as I say, people that are born into this particular life theme, they carry a lot of potential light with them. But it's just in that case, can they slow down enough, to recognize they are the garden. Wherever they go, they have that potential of bringing the garden with them. People with this particular life theme, Prince Harry, lately of England, Queen Elizabeth I, interestingly enough, the Tudor queen that expanded or began to expand the whole British Empire scene, very extraordinary woman. Lauren Bacall, also the Garden of Eden, always looking or potentially bringing that brightness with them. So then the sun moves on and we go into the fixed life theme I call of conflict resolution. And I'm particular about this because the fourth line, we're looking at a 4-1 profile here. And, it's the fixed fate profile. And the fourth line with the sixth gateway is all about friendship. It's all about making friends with people. It's about being influential and just say, hey, we can all get along here. We can all do great things together here. Let's just get it together. On the other side, the 36 is this fourth line that has this rather curious abilities to be able to tap into things that are mostly hidden from other people. They have this knack of being able to tune into what is needed in a particular moment. So people with this fixed fate life theme, and it's a very rare life theme, it's within a 3-hour period of once a year. And they have this ability to resolve conflict situations. We look to see the two unconscious gates, the unconscious sun in gateway number 15, the gateway of humility, the gateway of love of humanity, the gateway of love of nature, right? That potential connection into all things that are living. And I see ultimately the gate 15 in somebody's life is the gate of trust. People are going to trust you with that 15th gateway, right? Because you have that means of making space and time for everybody. And then the 10th gateway, the gateway of meeting challenges head on. This one that's called treading on the tail of the tiger, in a beautiful Chinese description. You're going for a walk down the path, and all of a sudden that stripy thing you put your foot on is attached to a tiger. What do? You know, you run for your life, you get eaten for breakfast. How do you engage with life? Do you love your life well enough to accept challenges, whatever they come, whatever shape or form they come in? And there's that whole reminder, you know, life is not something that happens to us. Life is something that happens for us. Total shift in attitude. And so people with this life theme, they have this great potential to resolve conflict situations. They're always looking, they're questing for, how do we get everybody together here? So then we have the movement onward into the interpersonal life theme, and this is the one that's called the earth plane. So again, we got the sun in the latter part of the 6th gateway, 6-5, 6-6, and the earth in the 36-5, 36-6. And then we have first lines, second lines, third lines potential with the 15 and the 10. People with this particular life theme, the interpersonal life theme of the earth plane, are natural diplomats. They are natural resolvers of other people's issues, things people can't work out terribly well for themselves. That they're always likely to be in a position of where people will seek them out to get their consultation. What do I need to do in this situation? I don't know what I do. I've got a conflict situation, I've got a crisis situation. How do I resolve these things? And this particular life theme of the earth plane can be very grounded, very capable, very well ordered in bringing things together here. And again, the 15, the gateway of trust, the 10, the gateway of being able to deal with challenges. So within the nature of this particular life theme are people that recognize all the potential difficulties that humans can encounter in this life, and they somehow be able to see how to deal with them, how to calm the waters, how to get people to chill out when it looks like disasters in front of them. How do they bring that soothing, calming energy with them? Here we are in the earth plane, and people with this particular life theme have this ability to just make things work, make things come together, make people come together. Just say there's no great issue here. We can resolve conflicts, we can resolve crises. Let's see if we can talk our way through this rather than getting all upset and freaked out. People with this particular life theme, Sophia Loren, right? She has that air about her. We can work this one out. We can be calm. We don't have to have a big problem. Let's engage with the beauty of life, right? Life is an amazing opportunity, such a great experience. Stephen King, you ever read any of his books or seen movies from his books? I mean, this guy, the span of appreciation for life and its challenges and perils on this planet, you know, absolute genius. Maggie Chung, this great presence, great actress, and just brings this sense of, what can I say, a quality to life, that we can step up, that we don't have to always be in a contrary situation with each other, that we can resolve things on planet Earth. So here we are, we're in this last little piece of this season, where the base is the water, the calm, the danger, the broken solid, broken trigram. And we go out with a bang. The sixth gateway really has this potential for all of us to uplevel our emotional sensibilities. And we'll see next, when the sun goes into the 46, we have a completely different season coming up. All of the 192 life themes are written up in detail in this book, the Book of Destinies. Your life theme will be in there. It's unique to you. And you get to read all about people in your life as well, what goes on in their life and what drives them. What is the import in their life? And these are the 3 books, the Human Design Trilogy, that we've produced so far. There are more books coming, but we always encourage you to have a look through these, get really clear in who you are and what this life's all about. So that's it for now.